This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
You are listening to Death, Glory, or Disappointment, and believe it. You believe it. We're here for what, the third, fourth week in a row? I don't even know where the hell we are.
It's fourth.
Consistency, baby.
Whatever next. Hold on, let me check. Have any of my family members broken their necks? Hold on, let me check. No, so far so good. Good shit.
None at this moment. All right, good stuff. So, Dan, what do you have in store for us today?
Well, this is a question someone raised in Coffee with Dan, and I'll have to name check you a little bit later, my friend, because it was a few weeks ago. But it was the concept of future-proofing your career. And there's been a lot of talk lately in the kind of online and marketing world about bots and artificial intelligence. And, you know, you go into places like I went into a McDonald's the other day just to grab a coffee. You know, just like it was one of the only places that was open that time of day. I was exhausted. I thought, yep, McDonald's always open. And I'm like, there's just no people. There's just these little machines that you press and do it. And there's like one counter stuff. And then obviously people cooking and, you know, making the drinks and stuff. So it was quite, there are roles and jobs that are being removed and taken away for robots, for people, for artificial intelligence. And someone said, how do you future-proof yourself against it? And it was a really good comment because I'd say, a friend of ours, Scott Alford, he's a very, very smart guy, very forward-thinking, very progressive, you know, sharp guy. I mean, he's fucking sharp in online marketing space. And he was talking, he did a post recently about, you know, jobs that are going to be obsolete and understanding that, you know, even information, we're getting to an information overload. There's too much information. There's too much available. You know, you can get everything, you know, anything you want for free. Anything, or, you know, what we teach you can find for free on the internet, but it's whether you want us to guide you and lead you through it and you trust us as leaders and, you know, curators of that information. So, you know, how do you future-proof yourself? And there's certain careers, I'm going to talk about, like, for example, there's always going to be people you're going to need to fix cars, to do plumbing, to build houses. You know, I'm talking more, what's the word I'm looking for here? Trades. And they're always going to be required because that's never going to go anywhere. That can never be done by a robot. But that is, you know, and like I said, my friends, I've got a friend of mine who a lot of people kind of, you know, joked at, but kind of was surprised he went into what he went into, which was kind of like sort of kitchens and bathrooms, you know, fixtures and fittings sort of things. He kind of like design them, build them stuff. And he probably pulls in sort of low six figures now, 5 or 6 vans, staff, you know, his own business. And it's like, you know, he left school early to do it. And we were, you know, I was sort of a friend, you know, goodish friend, but I was kind of like, oh, okay, you know, he's a bright lad. But he's now got something that people are always going to want. And he now does only high-end stuff. He charges a pretty penny for it. And, you know, you got people who've kind of got, some of my friends who've got, you know, office jobs and things like that who are struggling to find new work. And the one way that I think is going to be applicable to a lot of people listening to this, I mean, okay, number one, you either create something fucking amazing, as in you come up with a gadget, an idea, a system, a process that is revolutionary, and there you go, you're set for life. That's probably not going to happen to most of us. But the one thing that I think the only way to really future-proof yourself is to focus on building brand you. Because you are the one thing that can never be replaced. There could be, you know, I don't know how many people teach podcasting, Jonathan. I honestly don't know, but there's only ever going to be one Jonathan Riviera. There's plenty of people who teach, you know, entrepreneurship and marketing and business and stuff, but there's only ever going to be one Dan Meredith. So my tip, I would say, big overarching theme or goal for future-proofing is to focus on building your personal brand as much as your business. You've got to become like it was one of those things when I remember years ago, branding was something that the likes of, you know, your Coca-Colas and your McDonald's and your PepsiCos and just thinking, well, fat bastards, all I can think of is like sugary drinks and burgers. But you know what I mean? It's like your big brands could afford, because they would literally just put a billboard up with some random image and just their brand on it. They could afford to literally spray their brand everywhere. And your average entrepreneur or business owner couldn't do that. But we now, as entrepreneurs and business, have to look at brand marketing. We have to become a brand. We have to be something that cannot be duplicated. So I've seen when Coffee with Dan started getting popular, I mean, we spoke about this. There are so many coffee with, tea with, cocktails with. Everyone tried to copy it, which was cool. And I'm in a few of those groups, and I'm not pleased to say, it's just no real surprise, they're pretty much dead. No interaction, nothing happens. People barely posting it. The person who it's with is in there maybe once a week, if that. Nah. You can't keep up with me. You cannot beat me because I'm me. So I can't copy you, Jonathan. You can't copy me. And we said in an earlier podcast, what do you do? Well, it's just like, I'm the very, very best Dan Meredith that I know. And I said, you can't replace that. And, for all the automation and the bots and all these fancy things that come out, people are still going to want to deal with people. And that's the thing. I am always going, like someone said to me the other day, you should have your personal assistant in your, like my messenger inbox. You should have your personal assistant reply to messages for you so you don't miss anything. Because what I often do is batch messages. And sometimes I'm honest, sometimes I miss them because, I've got people messaging me all through the night, and sometimes I roll on my phone or whatever, and it kind of like, looks at it without me even knowing, just squished it with my shoulder or something. But I would see that as disingenuous. So if you're reaching out to me, you followed me, you've invested in my book, you follow my teachings, you do, what I suggest you do, and you get my assistant, I see that as a little fraudulent. That's me. But I think it's the one thing you'll never be able to automate is the personal touch. Now, don't get me wrong. I've recently I tested out one of these AI bots in my Facebook group, but we figured out the right way to do it. So there's certain ones, you may have seen them, listener, or maybe you've interacted with them. You'll message someone, you get a message automatically back, and you think you're having a chat with a human, but you're not. You're chatting with a piece of software. And there are some that are really, really clever, but we did ours brilliantly. We called it the Social Savage Bot. It was for a training we did a few weeks ago, the Social Media Savages. And it was actually people loved it because you clicked on the link, you got added into, you became friends with the bot, and all that happened every day was it was a way for me to communicate with you every single day. And I could send you the training direct to your inbox for you to watch when you wanted. So technology and things can be really well used if you're smart. But I think if you hand it too much to the machines, then you're going to lose the essence of you. And I think unless you are a big, multi-million-dollar brand you still has to be super important. Getting people to fall in love with you and everything you're about, because that is how you're going to get customers to stay with you long term and future-proof your career and business. And let's face it, we know this. There are people who've had, in the public eye who have completely made some, let's just say, questionable lifestyle decisions, but they've got fans and followers of people who love them, who are with them no matter what. I mean, we all see, celebrities who get up to naughty things they shouldn't do. And there's a little bit of furor in the papers and online and stuff, but basically their core fans are still there. They've not left.
Dan, I'm with you, but I'm struggling a little bit.
Go on now.
Are you saying that there is no way to create a business without having you involved in it? Like, let's say I wanted to do the podcast factory, but I didn't want to be the podcast factory. Is that possible in today's?
Yeah, of course it is. So the podcast factory would be the brand. I was just doing it so your brand, I mean, it's harder when there's not a person behind it. So I think I saw this at a Gary Vee event, he generally, even for brands that are just a brand, will have a model spokesperson, someone who represents the brand, who speaks for them. And unless I said that's, I think, I imagine a lot of our listenership are kind of either up and coming or kind of more entry level to kind of, getting their entrepreneurs. That type of marketing isn't going to be available to them. That's not something they can tap into as, like high value brand marketing. So forget someone to fall in love with your brand is a lot harder if there's no person or personality behind it.
So that's what it needs a personality.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be. So can you create a personality for your brand? That's kind of like the disingenuous assistant.
I've seen it done. I personally don't agree with it. So I think everyone's looking for an easy way out. I don't want to, again, this is good because obviously Gary did this keynote a year ago, pretty much today, talking about it. He said, if you're not the lively person, if you're not the person who wants to be front and center, if you're not the person that enjoys it, and you just want to focus being behind the scenes, maybe you just want to be Jonathan, who's behind the scenes, technically super skilled businessman, all that kind of stuff, but you don't want to do the social media thing. Cool. Partner up with someone who does. Find someone who loves what you do, is passionate about it, but maybe doesn't have the acumen or the skills that you have, and they are the face of your brand. I mean, like I said, especially if we use social media, people got to understand it's social. It is a personal connectivity device. I want to connect with a person. What are you doing now? So listeners, live. So Jonathan, when we recorded this, decided to live stream this, okay? And he keeps throwing me off whilst he's doing it. He's now just whipped a fucking digital camera in my face. It's like Inception of videography. So thank you. So yeah, forget that. Won't make sense to you listening to audio, but Jonathan is now his new thing. He's just surprising me and trolling me during my own podcast. It's fucking fantastic.
All right. The brand can live on its own. Partnering up with somebody else that could be the face of the brand, if that's not necessarily your thing, all good stuff. I want to go back to the bots for a second.
Oh, back to the bots. Okay.
Now, I know Scott and I like Scott's work, but I also think that it's quite convenient to say that everything's going to die and bots are going to take over when you're selling a bot program. Right?
Yeah.
I'll let that sit for a second. That's all me, not you. And
I'll say in defense of Scott on that one, we all knew he was going to come out with a program and he's super smart, but he doesn't, like I said, he doesn't think it's ever going to replace people. It's like, it's an addition. And I think a lot of people jumped on this, especially after traffic and conversion. There's a lot of big marketing event in America. A lot of people talking about AI and bots without really knowing what the fuck it meant.
Right.
Whereas I took some time to look at it, and it just for me was a simple piece of automation software that can allow me to communicate with my customers better and my audience and give them what they want easier.
So here's the question. Why the fuck aren't they just calling it autoresponder on Facebook? Like, why is it called a bot?
Sounds cool. I don't fucking know. It's like fucking bloody marketers, isn't it? Honestly, they ruin everything, Jonathan. Marketing people, they're always just getting their grubby little hands on shit. I don't know. I mean, it's an advanced automation software. That's all it's allowing me to do. I mean, R1, we tailored it to make it very specific. It's not spammy. It doesn't really have a communication. Some of them it can do. You can have it kind of helps you get to the right thing. We're going to put another layer on. So we'll have certain keywords. When people ask it a question, we can direct them to the right training. So it's like, hey, I'm looking to learn about social media. Great. Then we've got this training here. I'm really struggling with my copywriting. That'll trigger something else and we can send them that. So if it's done right, I think they can be really useful, but it'll never replace me or my team. As far as I'm concerned, it's an addition to the business. And you're said I get mate.
It's a delivery device, is all it is. People are making a big deal like it's brand new. All it is a delivery device. Keyword fine. Infusionsoft's been doing this active campaign
exactly
into social media. It's an autoresponder, as far as I'm concerned.
It's a high end. It's like the ultimate bespoke autoresponder, which responds kind of like Mr. Levesque in his Ask method.
Yes,
you tell it something, it will. You can program it to respond in a certain way. So we're looking at doing one now because we're going to turn the bot we have into something a little bit more entertaining, and it's just going to be called the Savage Bot, and we're going to program it to troll you. So you troll the bot, it'll troll you back with like Dan but we'll troll it back with phrases and types of language that I would use. So again, it's also can be used for just engagement and fun. And like anything, it's new technology. It's coming out. There are people that are who've been using it for a while, having great success. There are other people who will try and completely automate their lives and just hand it all over to the bots. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. Not in our lifetimes, I reckon. Anyway.
Yeah, that's what I see. Like one of my things when I took to Colby is systemizing is one of the big things that I do. You know how I am. I'm structured, and I need to work in that structure, I'll go nuts. But no matter how much structure I build, no matter how many bots I create in my business, because all my systems could be bots, I still have to manage that shit. It's still
and
great.
You still have to work with people like me.
Yeah, it's still
not fit a bot structure.
I don't have a Dan bot yet. It's like, come on, Dan.
Because you'll know. The thing is, you'll know. Because let's face it, if I knew it was a bot, I would literally just keep replying, "Fuck you, Jonathan. Message me yourself, you lazy shit." And I would just keep sending it over and over and over again until you do. But like anything, so future-proofing, the nutshell version is focus on building your brand, the brand of your business, build a small, loyal tribe of followers. It doesn't have to be big. If you can get, Daniel Priestley wrote a great book, oversubscribed. If you can get 5,000 people who fucking love what you do, you're set for life. You're good. You're good to go. Small, loyal tribe, be yourself, harness technology, but don't let it ever take the you out of your business. There you go. Check that out. It sounded like I'd actually fucking planned that, didn't it? Didn't in the slightest, listener. Not
I can see you, so I can see there's no script there. So.
Shocker.
That was real, ladies and gentlemen. Right. All right. So we're at our time here for this one. That was actually fun, talking a little smack. I like that kind of stuff. So, Dan, next we're going to be talking about breaking down big ideas, and you're going to go a little bit deeper into that. I know we touched a little bit on it when we were talking about productivity, but that next time, thank you, Dan, for sharing your insight on future-proofing yourself, and thank you for tuning in to us. We'll be back next time. You've been listening to Death, Glory, or Disappointment with Dan Meredith. If you enjoyed the show and you want more, then your next step is to go to iTunes right now and subscribe. And while you're there, give us a rating and review. It'll help us out a bunch, plus it'll bring you good karma.
This is the podcastfactory.com.